There's a very obscure endgame puzzle in Blueprints that leads to a gigantic amount of optional content and, depending on how you look at it, yet another ending to this already gargantuan puzzle box. In a game called Blueprints, what we'll be covering in this video today is the bluest part of all, the very core of this game. There will be spoilers all throughout this video. Since this is the endgame of endgame secrets, I'll be referencing content across the entirety of the game. So if you haven't already finished everything else it has to offer, go ahead and do that if you don't want anything to be spoiled. If you would like to discover these secrets for yourselves, I'll be putting the hints that the game gives you first, before I then uncover and solve them. To that end, you're going to need both the blue tents and the ability to clear at least part of the tunnel, so you'll need the advanced lab experiments that the satellite dish grants you. And that is where we'll begin, inside the tunnel after partly clearing it of the crates clogging its confines. Sitting off to the side on top of this stone table, you'll find an old rusted file cabinet key. But where do we use this? Well, there are actually a lot of file cabinets in various locations throughout the game, so it might not be exactly where you expect. To give you a hint, this key is found right next to a headlamp and close to a foreman's log. So, where would the foreman keep their documents? The answer to that is obviously the foreman's office right next to the gear room down in the reservoir. You may not have realized that this was the foreman's office, but yes. Inside this cabinet is your first hint that there's going to maybe be something pretty big coming up. To the Baroness of Mount Holly for her own hand. Numeric cores. By the Third Era, numeric cores had fallen completely out of favor and were no longer being included in proofs by serious arithmeticians. This concept, once considered sacred, was now regarded as an over-engineered concept that only served to slow further advancements in the field, as Philip Wilkins once famously put it. For now, just take note of this. This is how you perform numeric coring, and then there are some examples. The game also makes passing reference to numeric cores much earlier on inside the Grade 2 classroom. If we decide to ransack the teacher's desk, then we can find this letter hiding down in the corner. It seems the math teacher, Mrs. Hannah Patterson, had requested an old textbook from a Professor L. Charity, who found it, however, with missing pages. I don't believe there's any mention of cores of any kind in their text. It seems that Mrs. Patterson is also interested in numeric coring. Anyway, now we know that there is something called numeric coring in the game, but moving on to the blue tents memos. The blue tents obviously place blue memos, which are always true, inside of each blue room you draft on the 8th rank of the estate. And here are your hints for the blue rooms that pertain to this particular puzzle. This is the floor of the first of these rooms. This is the ceiling of the second. This is part of the floor of the third. And this cage features inside the fourth. Again, each of these 4 blue rooms contains a blue memo that will give us a hint as to what we need to do to move forward. And if you would like to solve these for yourselves, then this is your chance. But right after this short break, we're going to go right into it. The first room is, of course, the wine cellar. After entering and descending the stairs, you'll find the blue memo on the right side tucked away up here. The numerals below the coat of arms are 4 different numbers, not 1. The coat of arms, of course, being this one right here. MCCXIII. The second of the 4 rooms is the Mechanarium. Inside here, there's a very large N on the ceiling. Some of us believe there might be a hidden message or cipher scattered around the manor because there are other rooms, like this one, that also contain a letter. But that's a topic for another video. For now, the blue memo is on the wall of this alcove here. On the coat of arms, the first number is 1 numeral, the rest are each 2 numerals. The next room is the throne of the blueprints, once you have turned it into a blue room by ascending the normal throne room, which was the topic of my previous video. Inside here, while facing the throne, turn to the left and you'll find the blue memo tucked behind this pillar. The family core is kept in the family vault. Well, interestingly enough, the final blue memo can be found within the family vault, or the vault, inside the cage. The family core is unlocked only by the sum of its digits. So the information on each of these blue memos, again, the numerals below the coat of arms are 4 different numbers, not 1. On the coat of arms, the first number is 1 numeral, the rest are each 2 numerals. The family core is kept in the family vault, and the family core is unlocked only by the sum of its digits. These are all of the hints that the game itself gives you for the most massive amount of endgame or post-game content. So take your time, pause the video if you would like to figure this out for yourselves. But in the next chapter, I'm gonna very quickly solve this riddle. Let's go. All right, now, the numerals below the coat of arms are 4 different numbers, not 1. And then, on the coat of arms, the first number is 1 numeral, the rest are each 2 numerals. So that's the M, the 2 C's, the X, and the first I, and then the 2 I's, which gives us 1,211 and 2. Applying the rules of numeric coring to this would be 1,000 divided by 200 times 11 minus 2, which then gives us 53, the smallest whole number possible from this group of numbers. The family core is kept in the family vault, so that's where we have to go after this. The family core is unlocked only by the sum of its digits, 53. 5 plus 3, 8. So we'll be looking for something inside the vault, and we can unlock that something with 8. Which brings us to, inside the vault, we can open safety deposit box number 53 with key 8. Of course. Yeah, I love this game. And inside the box, an allowance token, but also my obsession with ciphers was renewed after my brother died, for among his journals I found a curious square, a grid of words written in a hand I immediately recognized, my mother's. Accompanying this discovery were numerous pages containing traces of my brother's fruitless attempts over the years to decipher this grid. It was a bittersweet find. The excitement I felt was tempered by memories of the unique bond my mother and brother had always shared. I was the child with an interest in puzzles and wordplay, yet it was Simon to whom she bequeathed this cryptic gift. With all respect to my late brother, it became clear after spending time poring over his notes that he was not very suited to this challenge. Occasionally, he stumbled upon some promising ideas, but none of them were thoroughly pursued. Where I will give him credit, however, is in the extensive research he conducted, combing through a career's worth of our mother's notes and correspondence. This search culminated in the discovery of a letter my mother had written a local professor requesting additional material for use in the creation of a cryptograph. This meager clue was, according to his survey, the only shred of evidence in her belongings that mentioned this project. As for me, I am ashamed to admit that despite all my boasting, I have nothing to show for nearly 3 decades of effort. I am no closer to solving this than I was in those early months of daily obsession, and with each passing year, I fear my chances of reaching a satisfying conclusion to this adventure grow ever slimmer. Some might say this outcome is quite fitting. Poetic justice for tormenting my readers for so many years with seemingly impossible bafflers. While I can certainly relate to their frustrations, I wonder if we really need to obtain answers to all of life's questions. Must we always quench our thirst for knowledge? At my age, I often find myself looking back at the long path behind me, and I think I am content to leave a few stones unturned. A life without some mystery is a life without imagination. So, I will lay down this burden and leave this stone and the winding path of intrigue it precedes for future generations to explore. Herbert. Herbert's philosophy here about leaving some mystery to life and not turning over that last stone echoes the developer, Ponderos's, actually, as I showed a snippet of this interview in my previous video.
I think in anything in life, you never want to turn over every stone, because when you turn over the last stone, there is no mystery.
You should check out the rest of that podcast. It's actually very, very eye-opening in a lot of ways. Tonda's audio throughout it was doubled, but it's still a very good listen. However, let's just get down to business right now and take a look at this last note. Pig, sand, male, date, head, clam, peak, heat, joya, well, toad, card, will, tape, legs, tree, road, maid, slab, rock, hand, vase, safe, clay, toes. All 4-letter words. Welp. Nice. Okay. So it seems that Lady Orave, Herbert and Simon's mother, your great-grandmother, was the one who put Hannah Patterson on the hunt for information about numeric coring. Again, requesting additional material for use in the creation of a cryptograph. So that's all the information you get. But if you have no idea at all about how to make any progress on this, there's one other hint that the game gives you inside the Lost and Found. This small shred of paper will spawn every now and then on the bottom shelf beneath the Mila statue. Clue equals 3. And that's all the information you should need to solve this. Anyway, that should have been plenty of time for you to pause the video and solve this for yourselves if you want to. Now, let's continue. Each letter of each of these words needs to be mapped to a number based on their position in the alphabet. So, for example, pigs will map to 16, 9, 7, and 19, because P is the 16th letter of the alphabet, I is the 9th, etc. Once the set of all 4 numbers is obtained from each of these words, we then have to numeric core them to find the lowest whole number of each set. Again, using pigs as our example, the numeric core of 16, 9, 7, and 19 is 19. So, all these words map to these sets of numbers below, which then each numerically core into these numbers. Finally, mapping each of these numbers back to a letter of the alphabet gives us the phrase, Stillwater tints blank books. This is the solution that both Herbert and Simon spent their entire lives trying to find. But what does it mean? Well, if you've played the game up to this point, day after day after day, you might have a really good idea about at least part of it. In the next chapter, I'm going to walk us through the entire solution. The cipher's message involved water tinting books. And it just so happens that there is one vessel in this game that we have access to that can hold water. The watering can. The 3 most common places to find the watering can are naturally inside the toolshed exterior room, inside the greenhouse, and even inside the Lost and Found. Once we have found a watering can, we're going to have to go ahead and empty it of the water that it comes with. Each watering can has 3 charges or 3 uses of water, so we're going to have to draft and then use it inside of 3 different green rooms, or rooms that count as green rooms, such as the aquarium, in order to fully empty it. Now that we have an empty watering can, where do we find still water? You probably will have noticed this much earlier on in your playthrough. I mean, it's pretty impossible not to notice this bundle of dynamite. If you happen to have the burning glass or the torch on you, then go ahead and light the fuse. There is a actually pretty disappointingly small explosion, but a large enough explosion to blow a hole in the wall at least, revealing a hidden room containing the vestiges of a moonshine operation, a distillery, if you will. Inside here we can find 40 gold, an upgrade disc, a note from Denny Ravane to Kristoff, revealing a little bit of lore detail of their sneaky moonshine operation. And finally, in this corner, some still water that you can fill your watering can with. Now that we have some still water in our watering can, we need to find those blank books. This is, I believe, the easy part of this puzzle, but I'll still pause here for a few more seconds just to give you time to solve this for yourselves if you would like to. And of course, keep in mind that you can put this watering can filled with still water into the code check if you aren't able to solve all this in one day. The code check will not change it to normal water. It will remain the super special still water for use in this puzzle at a later day if you would like. Anyway, as soon as you're ready, head on into the library, where a couple blank books have been on display every day for the entire game. The diagram on the left page should look familiar, but on the other page, a hidden hue. From prism pristine, 3 paths convene. 3 lines of light, 3 shades foreseen. 3 colors to count, a sum of 18. but the one left hidden remains to be seen. Interesting. Turning around and crossing the library to the blank book in the other corner allows us to use the distilled water as well. And the motherlode of all invisible messages appears. Tended rosevine, with a rosevine in the shape of a spiral. Does it never end? But on the other page, a message from Baroness Orave herself, but the intended recipient being her son. This being blueprints, and this message being written by the great-grandmother of all puzzle obsessives. Obviously, both these books contain some hints for further puzzles. Alright, oh dude, But what hints do these books show exactly? Don't worry about the hidden hue one for now, we'll be looking at that a little later. It's this book that contains Baroness Orave's message that we are most interested in for now because it is what leads to the next part of this puzzle. If you look very closely at her final counsel, which can much more easily be seen with the magnifying glass, you will see West Spring, secret passage, secret passage. So this still water that we obtained from the West Spring still has another use. 3 guesses as to what that might be. Anyway, in the next chapter, I'm going to show you exactly what it means. First, we need to make sure that our watering can is safe in the coat check, and then at some point during a run, we need to draft the secret passage. The next most important thing we need to do is draft the shrine outside, and then we need to make an offering of 13, 29, 45, 61, or preferably 77 coins. This will grant us the blessing of the monk for 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 days. The more days, the better here, because we might need all of them or more in order to solve everything else there is to solve. And then we just want to go back to the secret passage and then end our day in there. Obviously, the end goal here is to be able to draft the secret passage outside using the blessing of the monk. So on that next day, we grab our watering can filled with still water from the coat check before heading outside and drafting the secret passage as the outer room. Now go on inside and you'll notice a curious new uncolored book that allows you to actually use the still water on it. But only if it's still water. Regular water will not work here. The book will turn blue, so we have gold, red, violet, green, blue, and orange. Go ahead and pull the blue book to open up a brand new secret passage, ending in a probably familiar blue holly door. Keep in mind that this door will not open unless you previously solved the secret involving the throne room. And if you want to watch a video on that, then I'll link my previous one here. But if you did solve it, then the door will open. And on the other side, Baroness Orave's secret Atelier drafting studio. Amidst the floor plans on the drafting desk, you can find a note, again written by Lady Orave herself. When first I embarked upon this project, it was my intent to craft inviting rooms that might appeal to the citizens of the realm. I had even secured an arrangement with a local firm which was to oversee the mass production of the floor plans. Yet now, after walking the halls of my work, I must confess that I have grown altogether too attached to these rooms. They have become a part of me, and knowing how little regard is often shown for that which I hold sacred, I find myself unequal to the selfless task of sharing them with the world. I am content with this resolution, for this house and the 45 rooms therein are more than the best work of my career. They are home. Lady Orave. Project completed, November 1913. The walls of this hidden refuge contain some very interesting blueprints. Pay attention to the prism. Green, violet, yellow, red, blue, orange. And don't go where the path leads. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Anyway, gathering courage, we approach the door. Oh. Oh, never mind, it does. Oh, test draft, what? Oh my god. Wow. Welcome to the blue backrooms of the Mount Holly blueprints, a staggeringly huge hidden labyrinth filled with puzzles. If you don't use my video to easily solve this and you plan to stop watching now, prepare to spend probably the next 20 plus hours in here. The game hides that much content in here. Once you finally leave this disorienting Blooniverse, and poke your head outside again, other colors are seriously gonna look so out of place. Oh, so that's what sunlight looks like. Seriously. It's really, really cool, but you're probably gonna be in here for a while. Anyway, for everyone else who just wants to watch along, this test draft is comprised of 45 individual rooms and the maze of hallways connecting them, lined with different colored lanterns. Red, green, orange, yellow, violet, and one single blue lantern. Each room also holds both a pair of paintings for you to solve, similar to, but mostly more tricky than, the paintings scattered around the normal manner, as well as a Morajai box. Yeah, there are 45 Morajai boxes in here. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be showing all of their solutions in this video. I'm sorry, but that would take far too long, since the way I've made guides for those in the past is by fully memorizing the most efficient solution and then slowly working through that to make it easy for people to follow along. If I did that for all of these, this video would be an extra hour long. So, I'm sorry about that. However, I do have most of the solutions for the previous Morajai boxes in the game, so I might eventually release a video on the solutions for every Morajai box in the entirety of Blueprints in just one giant commentary-free 2-hour-long video, maybe longer. But first I have some other videos that I'd like to make. Anyway, for now, while exploring and solving everything in here, we're going to be burning through a lot of steps. So I do suggest trying to obtain as many steps as possible before embarking on this massive journey. And in the next chapter, I'm going to be showing all 45 of the painting pairs, starting from the top left and going down to the bottom right. For any of you who maybe aren't playing the game or don't want to play this part of the game, so that you can still solve the puzzle and uncover the hidden message if you would like. And at the end of the chapter, after I already show all 45 painting pairs, then I will show the solution and the hidden message. Anyway, sit back, relax, I'm just going to have some music during this part. Okay, so that was all 45 of the painting pairs. I like that this puzzle gets revisited. It suitably bookends the game, because the painting pairs in the normal manner are the first of the meta puzzles, and now they're also the last, or one of the last. Anyway, just like this puzzle in the normal manner, each one of the painting pairs gives us a letter, and those letters together form this phrase. These vying plans forge barren crest among Huum blessed. You want to know what's funny? We don't actually know if this leads to any deeper puzzle yet. I mean, Huum translates to large house in Eurasian, the in-game language, and blessed is an archaic way of spelling blessed or blessed. So it could just mean that this entire backrooms area, this rough draft, are the vying plans, and this is just the final challenge for anyone worth ruling over the estate, or trying to forge the barren crest, since this is the Baroness Orave's most prized possession, these plans right here. So this could simply be lore, just a commentary on what we are doing right now. However, knowing this game, there could very well be something else hidden in this that nobody has discovered yet. But that's not all. Moving on, we have a lot more left to solve. In the next chapter, all of the Morajai boxes. However, like I said earlier, I'm not going to be able to show all of them. I'm just going to show a couple solutions here, just as examples, I suppose. And then after these examples, I will show you the contents of every single one of these 45 boxes. Let's go. Real fast, I just wanted to apologize in advance that these are not going to be as easy to follow as my previous Morajai box openings. Lantern. Light. So now I'm going to show you my process for solving this entire thing as I drag all of the screenshots I take into PureRef, which is the journaling program that I used to take notes throughout the entire game. And I use it for every game now, whenever I need to take any notes. And it's even really good to map out the worlds of 2D games, especially Metroidvanias. Anyway, this is my entire map of the blueprints as it looks inside of my PureRef document. It's not the neatest, but it worked for me. Now, the 45 words of the message hidden within the Morajai boxes. Through lantern light in sketches cast, a tint of truth to find our path, a hue of wisdom to turn us right, a shade of rain to pass the light. Through lantern light in shadows past, we seek what's left of the lies we cast. There's obviously a lot hidden within this passage, this secret passage. And in the next chapter, we're going to solve everything that is left to solve here. Well, probably. There may actually be a few things left in here that the community has not yet solved. Potentially. Anyway. Well, remember when I told you we'd return to this, a hidden hue? At this point, we should understand what this is saying a little bit more. The prism. Remember when I told you to pay attention to that? Green, violet, yellow, red, blue, orange. Yeah, all of the lanterns inside of the rough drafts. 3 paths convene. So what this is saying is that there are 3 paths through the maze beyond the Atelier, through the rough drafts. And if you take a look at my map here, you can see that we can actually follow 3 of the different colored lanterns from the start all the way up to the vestibule. Orange, red, and violet. And inside of the vestibule is this door, which we can assume leads to room 46. The vestibule being the old version of the antechamber. So starting with the orange path, let's follow those lanterns through the rough draft maze. I was following my map that I drew that I showed you guys just now during this, so you could see I just made a wrong turn there, but it's really not that difficult to get through this. The most important thing is that we just make sure that we do not cross underneath any other lanterns. Finally, we head through the cathedral and into the vestibule where you can see that the moon icon is glowing orange. But opening the door presents us with a brick wall and this note. This was not the true path. Okay, moving on to the red path now. Same deal, we just make sure we don't pass underneath any other lamp color besides red. Same. This was not the true path. Alright, the violet path? Once again, this was not the true path. The note adorned with rose and thorns iconography. Stay vigilant and rosary. There has to be more to this place, right? What is the true path through this maze? If we refer back to the hidden hue, the bottom line is of utmost importance here, but the one left hidden remains to be seen. So there is a fourth path, and that's when we return to the Morajai puzzle box poem. Because this poem tells us exactly what we need to do at each color of lantern. A tint of truth to find our path. Blue stands for truth in this game. So we begin at the one single blue lantern in the entire maze. A hue of wisdom to turn us right. Orange happens to be the color associated with the realm of Kororika, which itself is associated with knowledge and academia, or wisdom. A shade of rain to pass the light. Well, the realm of Iraja is known to be a very rainy realm, and the color associated with Iraja is violet. And finally, we seek what's left of the lies we cast. In the game of blueprints, red represents lies. So what this poem is telling us is that we begin at the blue lantern, we turn right at the orange lanterns, we pass through the violet lanterns, and we turn left at the red lanterns. So, putting all of this together now, let's find that true path. Beginning at the blue lantern, we enter the pantry, on the other side of which is a red lantern, so we turn left, and then proceed to the orange lantern where we turn right and walk through the gallery where there is another orange lantern. Turn right, another one, turn right again into the library, exit, red lantern, turn left. To this red lantern where we turn left into the observatory, and then there's a violet lantern, so we keep going straight through the music room. Orange, turn right. Up to this orange one, turn right again and walk through the ballroom. Another violet one, so we walk straight through it and through the spare room to this red lantern, where we turn left, through this violet lantern, and then through this violet lantern, and then there's a red lantern up ahead. Wait a minute. Where did this door come from? It wasn't here earlier. The blue moon. Stepping forward, we open this door. And now, we have finally made our way into the roughed draft version of room 46. In addition to the Morajai box on the desk, we have this. The last will and testament of me, the Baroness Orave. I, Orave of Mount Holly, architect, mother, and reluctant baroness, being weak of body but of perfect mind and memory, thanks be to Orinda, do make and ordain this document my last will and testament. As I commit my final wishes to paper, may it be done so in the tapestry and color of my life's work. May it be written under the tree of creativity and in the shade of truth that has sheltered my loved ones from the villainy of country and countrymen. In that same spirit of defiance, I hereby revoke all wills and codicils heretofore printed on common, hueless parchment. I, first, being somewhat religious, give my soul to Rinna, my ashes to Vea, and my remainder to man, as will be detailed in the pages and clauses that follow this foolishly superstitious passage. In the second order, should my husband, Baron Thomas Sinclair, survive me, I grant to him his choice of sentimental keepsake he may wish to retain in remembrance of me. As our union was never founded on material dependency, I make no provision for his future, nor for my eldest son, Herbert S. Sinclair, as he will, in due course, inherit his father's titles, enterprises, and fortune. However, the estate of Mount Holly, its many floor plans and storied secrets are mine and mine alone to grant, and I have neither pledged nor suggested it will be granted to either of my children. Further details concerning its disposition to follow. I do, in the third order, bestow upon my youngest son, Simon, my library, including its books, manuscripts, and musings, for I have long believed that Simon, much like myself, finds greater delight in the realm of imagination than in the mundane realities of everyday life. I hope he cherishes these books, for within their pages lie doorways to endless worlds of wonder and knowledge. In the fourth order, one that I suspect will intrigue those I leave behind far more than the previous provisions, I hereby bequeath the entirety of the aforementioned estate, Mount Holly, to the individual that discovers the hidden room that contains the blue pages of this document, hence styled the Blue Testament of Orave. It is my firm belief that the challenge of uncovering this secret far outweighs any other measures of worthiness, and thus, I entrust my beloved home to that deserving successor, without regard to the years that may pass or their familial connection to my descendants who may have incidentally assumed possession of the estate in the interim. In the event that any of my relations or future kin are living on the estate when this worthy successor locates the Blue Testament, measures shall be taken to ensure their continued residence without fear of eviction or forced removal. The estate, being of generous size, is more than capable of accommodating multiple parties without inconvenience. It is with the understanding, however, that preparations for eventual relocation should be made, as such leniency will not be afforded to subsequent generations. I do hereby constitute and appoint my colleague and fellow practitioner of architecture, Corderus Elysius Aaron of Trinsdale, the exclusive charge and office of executrix of this instrument. If ever the 46th room of my Mount Holly is discovered and the Blue Testament of Orave be delivered unto her hands, or unto any of her descendants, I do ordain that they shall bear sole dominion and discretion to override and render null any and all prior arrangements heretofore made in my stead, or in the name of my seed. I trust in her and in the generations that follow her to fulfill this role faithfully, in steadfast adherence to the wishes laid out in the foregoing pages of this document. Lastly, I leave a final message to my worthy successor. You, who have reached this final room. You, who unearthed these pages hidden amidst the blueprints, buried beneath cryptic words and the prophecies of the past. You, who have spent countless days wandering the chambers and passageways of your own curiosity, scouring for clues, hoping for answers, striving for that which you knew might forever elude you. To you, for whom satisfaction is a fleeting companion. To you, who stands now at the end of your journey, triumphant, exhausted, and justly proud. To you, I grant that which in life I have given to no other, my esteem. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 16th day of April, 1952. Orave of Mount Holly. And with that, there can be no conflicting it. Mount Holly Estate is now yours. Truly bequeathed to you. Well, to Simon. And now, on the desk, one final Morajai box, the solution to which is as follows. With one final tile press, the box swings open, and inside, blue. I want to thank you all very much for coming with me on this journey through this amazing game that has very quickly become one of my favorite games of all time. And even though this is considered to be the final ending of the game, there may yet be more stones left unturned. But it's up to you whether or not you want to join me on that journey, turning over those stones. In addition to this, there is actually a content update still planned. It might not be a very big update. We know a few things that are being added, including the Dirigiblocks game, but no matter what is added, I will be covering it on this channel. Whether this is the first video of mine you've watched or the 100th, thank you very much for watching this far. But if you are interested in seeing more about Blueprints, or you're interested in games with deep secrets and lore, then go ahead and drop a sub. And if you want to go further to help support the channel, I do have a Patreon and Ko-fi linked in the description. You can join my Discord if you want to hang out and talk about all kinds of games like this, or games that you're excited about, games that I'm excited about. One of the games coming out in the future that I'm very excited about is Pony Island 2 from Daniel Mullins. And I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/FuryForged. Alright, I'll see you next time. Thank you once again, and have a great day. Mwah.